Blue Cliff Record, Case 85. The hermit of Toho roars like a tiger. In goes introduction. To hold the world fast, allowing not the least speck of dust to escape, so that people everywhere in the world lose their advantages and are tongue-tied. This is the true imperative for a patch-robed monk. To release a light from the forehead that shines through the four directions. This is the adamantine eye of a patched-robed monk. To touch iron and turn it into gold. To touch gold and turn it into iron. To suddenly capture and suddenly release. This is the staff of a patch-robed monk. To stop the mouths of everyone in the world so that there is nowhere to breathe out. To make them fall back 3,000 miles. This is the spirit of a patch-robed monk. But how about when one does not have these abilities? See the following. Main subject. A monk came to visit the hermit of Toho and asked, "If you suddenly encountered a tiger on this mountain, what would you do?" The hermit roared like a tiger. The monk pretended to be frightened. The hermit laughed loudly. The monk said, "You old thief." The hermit said, "What are you going to do about it?" The monk was taken aback. Sesshin commented, "These two thieves only knew how to cover their ears in their efforts to steal the bell." Sesshin's verse. An opportunity comes. If you can't seize it, you'll still be thinking about it 1,000 miles away. The tiger had fine stripes, but had no fangs, no claws. Don't you remember the battle on Mount Taiyu? Their words and actions shook the earth. If you have eyes to see, you know they caught the tiger's tail and grabbed the tiger's whiskers. Fall Sesshin. "38 of us or so. Welcome, Keiki, Jushin, and anyone else I may have not expected to see. More than a dozen people are online. Hi. Thanks for your stalwart presence via our connectivity. And there's nothing virtual about Ho-En, Dharma connection. This morning, we celebrated our 29th anniversary in this beautiful place with special chanting of Ryogonshu in the Zendo and Dharani in the Foreman House. October 18th, 2026, 1 year away, will be our 30th year here. And July 4th, 2026, will be Daibusatsu Zendo's 50th year since its formal opening in 1976. As most of you know, Hoenji started even before that, when a few graduate students, including Nikyu, Robert Strickland Sensei, started sitting together in a little room on the Syracuse University campus during the academic year 1972-73. After my first husband, Lou, and I came up to Syracuse in 1976, the Zendo moved to Community House, to a slightly larger room. And that's where Jinen and I first met. We had, Lou and I had just come from training at Daibusatsu Zendo, and we found a few people sitting, and we thought, well, we'd better make more of a real Zendo and have more weekly sittings, and maybe we can even make oatmeal in the morning. And December was looming, and we decided, well, we'll do Rohatsu Sesshin with the three of you in our house. And the three included Vinnie Santarelli. You remember him? And after one day, he ran away. I ran down Concord Place after him. You can't go. I can't stay. So those early days. Then Syracuse University sold Community House to a fraternity. We had to leave. And finding a new place wasn't easy. The first woman to be allowed to be an Episcopalian priest, Betty Bone Sheese, had a church called Grace Episcopal here in town. And she welcomed us to sit in the basement where there had been a school, and there was a lot of graffiti everywhere. And they had used those spray cans, and it was all psychedelic. It had been the first kind of countercultural school in Syracuse. So it was very hard to get that paint hidden by various layers of white paint, but we managed. And then we had an opening, and Richard Baker Roshi came and gave a talk, and we all settled in, and then it rained, and we had a flood. And we dried everything off, and then it rained again. And before we knew it, all of our zabutons and zafus were getting moldy. So it seemed like we needed to find another place. We wandered here and there. Somebody had a house of people he was house sitting for. We managed to sit there for a while, right down Seneca Turnpike. A beautiful big house. Then I had changed husbands. I don't know if it had to do with the flooding or whatever, but my second husband very kindly suggested, why don't we renovate the attic of our house and make it into a zendo? And so we did. And we sat there for 12 years, and every time we would have a session, we would put everything in Doshin's truck and carry it out to Alverna Heights, the Franciscan Sisters Retreat Center. We would sit in the rec hall. That's a pun, well intended. It took a lot of cleaning to make it presentable for a zendo. And so we did that. And we were growing. We were outgrowing the attic. So finally, we found this property in April of 1996. We had our formal opening October 18th of that year with Edo Roshi and Chief Paul Waterman from the Onondaga Nation. Wonderful meeting of minds, two very different traditions, and yet I remember at one point saying to Chief Paul Waterman how grateful we were to have this place and knowing that it was on Onondaga land. And he said, "Give it back." Our story that I'm alluding to over these years was told through the photographs on display at our open house September 27th, which was attended by about 100 people, I'm told. Lots of people who come here regularly, and many friends and first-time visitors. And I just got an email from the shakuhachi master who played here that day, Marco Burmester. He said, "What a lovely weekend we had for the open house in September. Everyone put so much effort into making the day a success. And I heard a lot of positive feedback from visitors. I love to look at those old photos. The Dharma has continued for quite a while in Syracuse. And I loved the calligraphy scrolls, especially Banko Seifu. The impromptu shakuhachi workshop after the concert was fun. He didn't want to stop. He had an hour to play. Well, you know, after about 2 hours, he continued. And people came over and he taught them how to play and had wonderful conversations. And He said, yeah, things just worked out fine going with the flow. He'll be back December 20th to 21st, Mandala Day weekend. So it's not only our anniversary today, but it's also No King's Day. There are nationwide gatherings expressing dismay and concern about rights violations and militaristic terrorist actions against our own citizenry. What's been happening in Chicago and before that in LA? And they promised to come everywhere. There's a blue city, so get ready. The events that have been happening, there's a story about Chicago, and it was eerily juxtaposed with an article by New York Times reporter Christian Tribert that began, no dictator rules alone. For 2 decades, and amid a 13-year civil war that left 500,000 people dead, the Syrian strongman Bashar al-Assad relied on a network of henchmen to support his rule. We may think it can't happen here, but maybe it's already begun. Ice is everywhere. And not the way Hakuin put it in his Song of Zazen. And yet, to melt, to be flowing water, is what we are doing here. To sit in the midst of this time, knowing it is timeless time. This thunderous silence of Sesshin reverberating everywhere. So don't think, oh, I should be standing by the side of the road with a placard. Trust what's happening here, right here. And remember what the Dhammapada twin verses of the Buddha's teaching say. For hatred can never put an end to hatred. Love alone can. This is an unalterable law. People forget that their lives will end soon. For those who remember, quarrels come to an end. Usually in the koans, we see, in all of the collections really, at least one person of admirable insight and wisdom, right? And usually that person gets to best a monk who comes with a question, a challenge, right? And we can identify with the monk, but also think, wow, yeah, that person. So this case, today, not so much. It's quite funny, really. Engo Kokugon's introduction shows the spirited Dharma activity of an enlightened teacher. I'll read the 4 vivid examples that he gives of direct Dharma expression. And as we hear these 4, we can think about the 2 characters, the hermit and the monk who comes to visit. And perhaps we can relate to them more than the 4 examples. So let me start. First of all, you may be wondering, well, what's it mean, patch-robed? A patch-robed monk. Yes, so many of you are wearing patch rakusus, right? You remember Siddhartha left the castle and exchanged his beautiful robes for the tattered clothing of his attendant. No more fancy finery. Dressed in that clothing, he eventually made what became the traditional 7-piece robe. Patches sewn together, often from used cloth. Some of you remember Anju's rakusu, yes? She used little rags to make it, patches. And even though teachers' kesas are often made from some luxurious materials, still they are pieced together. And they're pieced together in a way that is always coming apart. So many seams reminding me. And there's that koan also regarding these 7 pieces. Remember? At the sound of the bell. Huh? Yeah. Why, though? The world is vast and wide. Why, at the sound of the bell, do you put on your 7-piece robe? I'm sure every morning you think this. Why? So anyway, the first one, Engo's introduction, giving these 4 requisites, we might say, for you as practitioners. To hold the world fast, allowing not the finest hair to escape, so that people everywhere in the world lose their spear tips and are tongue-tied. This is the true imperative for a patch-robed monk: to hold fast. When you hold fast, you are completely one, right? One with all the myriad things in the world. And the finest hair, allowing not the finest hair to escape. This finest hair, it's a traditional Chinese expression. Have you heard it, Keiki? Probably more traditional than contemporary expression. But it refers to the soft down before new hair grows in, like that of a baby, or after an animal has shed its hair, new, very fine hairs grow in. Meaning, not even a hair's breadth of separation. You cannot take advantage in this situation. No matter how sharp the weapons, there's nowhere to get through. And one is rendered speechless by such a monk. Tongue-tied. How many times have you felt that way in Doksan? You come in with some prepared statement or a very intelligent question. And what happens? So this feeling, when all our highfalutin ideas are blasted away, then what? Remember in the main subject, the word thief. The second, to release a light from the forehead that shines through the four directions. This is the adamantine eye of a patch-robed monk. Adamantine, do you know what that means?
Very strong.
Diamond. We chanted Diamond Sutra. Buddha. Diamond, brilliance. All the facets reflecting each other 360 degrees. And four directions, all directions. There's nothing left out. So think, oh, this is I. This shining adamantine eye on the forehead. Or another way to say it is
Third eye.
third eye. Diamond eye that lights up the entire universe. Revealing what? The original unity of all composite things. Or we might say, Dhammadipa. You know, earlier today, we chanted Ryogonshu, which most of you know is the esoteric mantra of the Shurangama Sutra. at the beginning of chapter 3 of the Shurangama Sutra, which is where we are right now in our Dharma study. It's called Conditioned Mind and True Mind, this chapter. And it opens this way. An array of lights as dazzling and as brilliant as 100,000 suns poured forth from the world-honored one's face, and an infinite number of worlds appeared throughout all 10 directions, all at the same time. The Buddha's awe-inspiring spiritual power caused all these worlds to merge into a single world. And in that world, all the great bodhisattvas, while remaining in their own lands, placed their palms together and listened. What's our usual way of seeing? Well, I gave you a hint with the title of that chapter. You get caught up in conditioned mind, right? Yeah. Filled with dualistic constructs, based on karmic patterns that result in disturbed mental processes. And how about listening? Three, to touch iron and turn it into gold. To touch gold and turn it into iron. To suddenly capture and suddenly release. This is the staff of a patch-robed monk. What does iron look like? Seems visually to be opaque, right? Dull. Iron, black. And what about gold?
Shiny.
Shining. Seems to emit light. So this is describing the activity of a monk. A patch-robed monk. What is your reason for being? You don't have to be ordained. Okay, this is all of us. What is it to practice? What is the responsibility of a patch-robed monk or ordained or lay student? To save all beings. In other words, to transform, right? From this kind of flat, opaque level of not connecting to go from a deluded state to a realized state. To see in someone who is clearly deluded, not yet awakened, to see in that very person what? The true Buddha within. And then what? He says, to touch that gold and return it to iron. What does that mean? Yes, to live in this total acceptance of things as they are, to return to ordinary life. Yeah? To return from the experience of no self to this very body, just as it is, with all its complaints. Silverstein enumerated them. To realize this very body is the body of the Buddha. And not to hold on to the shining gold of awakening, just to lead a life that looks no different from others. Even though there is this hidden way of saving all beings. Not to be someone strutting around saying, "Look at me, I'm a monk." So Yamara Koen Roshi said, "It is only when we have returned to the everyday phenomenal world that we can work to save others." This is the activity of the staff. The sudden capture, sudden release, showing mastery the way a mother dog or cat will pick up a puppy or a kitten by the scruff of the neck and place it out of harm's way, out of danger. So the master, spoken of as this patch-robed monk, doesn't allow a student to hold on to anything. Kills all ideas about freedom, cuts through all notions of attainment. Some of you may remember when Joshu went to the hermits, Mumonkan, case 11, what he said to the second hermit. Free to give, free to take, free to kill, free to save. Anybody who would like to stand, do a little dance, please feel free. Free to dance. Now we'll look at the fourth. Oh, that's good. I can actually read this now. You may be sorry. This is 4. To stop the mouths of everyone in the world so that there's nowhere to breathe out, to make them fall back 3,000 miles. This is the spirit of a patch-robed monk. When we have come to the third noble truth, cessation, We have come to the place where there is no outflow, as the Shinge Sutra puts it. Where you're not getting entangled by everything that comes up in your mind. Just no letting go, no explanations or instructions. Then we fall back. 3,000, he says. 3,000 miles. There's no measure to this. Just awe. Complete surrender. Nothing more to do. As Buji, this is Rinzai's wonderful saying. It's done. And Engel ends his introduction with the question that I think we might all feel is quite relevant. How about when you don't have those abilities? How about it? How about when there's some degree of insight, but not yet? And yet, even feeling not yet, and yet, we must give our entire beings to it. In case 46 of the Gateless Barrier, Mumonkan, you who sit on the top of 100-foot pole, although you have entered the way, you are not yet genuine. Proceed on from the top of the pole and show your whole body in the 10 directions. As we heard in Fugon's wonderful talk yesterday, on case 1 of the Mumonkan, Mumon's comment ends, how will you carry it out? Employ every ounce of your energy to work on this. If you hold on without interruption, behold, a single spark and the holy candle is lit. So, every ounce of your energy, chanting the Diamond Sutra, we don't say, Atsawa Nokatara Samyak Sambodai. Make it come alive in you. This supreme enlightenment. Right? Hotsawa Nokatara Samyak Sambodai. It makes all the difference. A single spark. One person chanting the Diamond Sutra in this room. And all of us light up. This is true of every moment, all right? I'm just giving one example. And we can change from, oh, my knees hurt. Oh, how long is this? Let me see how many pages we have left. To, this is it, man. This is it. Well, anyway, let's go to the main subject of today's case. A monk came to visit the hermit of Toho and asked, if you suddenly encountered a tiger on this mountain, what would you do? The hermit was a disciple of Rinzai and was evidently continuing his post-satori practice as a hermit, and perhaps had tasted his morning rule, as the monk asserted to Joshu in case 7 of the gateless barrier, wash your bowl. So, what would you do? The monk said. The hermit gave a tiger's roar. The monk pretended to be frightened. The hermit laughed loudly. The monk said, you old thief. The hermit said, what are you going to do about it? The monk didn't know what to say. And Sesshin commented, these 2 thieves only knew how to cover their ears in their efforts to steal the bell. The monk came with some spirit, but this koan is really about something essential as we mature in our Dharma training. What is it? What's being shown in this exchange between the hermit and the monk? The unnamed hermit, the unnamed monk. Selfness? Less. They're carrying out this exchange in a kind of play-acting way. And we have to question their authenticity. And many of us find that this is true for our lives, that we are doing what we think is expected, or what we maybe we imagine will be what's unexpected. In other words, we're projecting our ideas, right? Oh, this is what is expected, I will do this. This is what will catch somebody off guard, I will do that. It's all ahead of time. And all of these responses stem from the conditioned mind, from a kind of cleverness. What do you think will work? Oh, I'm going to roar like a tiger. This monk in front of me is asking me about a tiger. I'll be a tiger. The monk comes thinking, I'm going to be a tiger. I'm going to challenge this hermit as a tiger and see what he does. And so there's a kind of maybe some imitation going on here, play acting. Do you know there's a well-known line by the poet Alexander Pope, a little learning is a dangerous thing. drink deep or taste not the Pierian spring. We are here drinking deep, right? Not just showing off our little learning, but we do dissemble. And it's really important to see it. Whether we're engaged in a Dharma combat or just kind of walking around thinking, what would they be impressed by? I want to be better than I think I am. I want to at least show that I have something to offer. I want to look like a tiger, act like a tiger. We need to know when we're doing things like that. I remember being very young. I must have been about 4. My mother had just remarried. And the person she married didn't like me at all. And I wanted to kind of bring a positive relationship about. At the age of 4, I was kind of, devious about it. Okay, what can I do? And I saw how everybody gathered around my baby cousin. My baby cousin was lying in his carriage like this, with his arms back, and he's sleeping peacefully, and they were all like, oh, look how cute. So my mother and her new husband had gone out to dinner, and I heard them coming back. I was already in bed, and so I put my arms back. My eyes closed, wide awake, but my eyes closed, looking so cute. And they just walked by. Absolutely no engagement. Nothing. So it was like an early experience of trying to be something I didn't feel I was seen to be, and not knowing how to act. Set the stage for all kinds of more, what shall we say, sophisticated dissembling. But we really need to see it in ourselves. We need to realize that perhaps we are posturing. We want to take charge, but we really don't know how. So we're just going to kind of walk around. I know what to do. I'll tell you what to do. You should do that. You should do that. And then maybe we feel, okay, now they're going to see I'm an all-knowing tiger of Zen. People may be throwing up outside. Not only that, when the real tiger comes, then what? Huh? So we're all responsible to get a good bite. Anyway, tigers were very likely to show up in the mountains of China back then. I don't know about nowadays. No, you don't. Only in the zoo, right? So, do you remember when Hyakujo sent Isan to found a monastery on a mountain that a shaman had told him would be a good site for practice? That would attract many, many, many monks from all over. Do you remember what happened?
He wanted to leave.
Huh?
He tried to leave.
Yeah, why? Why?
Nobody came.
Nobody came. He went on and on and on in his practice, just sitting, just sitting, just sitting. And some of us may feel that way from time to time. We're not getting any recognition. There's absolutely no interaction here. I give up. So he's leaving. What happened? A tiger came, grabbed him by the sleeve, and dragged him back up the mountain. And then what? Well, eventually, not the next day, there were about 1,000 monks practicing together. So the point is, with these two, the hermit being challenged by the monk who wants to see himself as a tiger and asks, what would you do? Here I am, in other words. What are you going to do? And the hermit becomes a tiger. It's a pantomime. Great roar. Seems authentic, or maybe it's a cliche, huh? Maybe he's putting on a show. What is the real danger here? Is it the tiger? Did you, the danger is when you start to do that all the time, putting on a show. Do you remember that song? Oh, yes, I'm the great pretender.
Pretending that I'm doing well.
Pretending, go ahead, that I'm doing well. So we all have a bit of that in us, and the danger is we start to believe it. And then we have to keep that face up all the time. And then we start worrying, what if they see through? What if somebody calls me on it? The monk continues the performance, shaking in fear, jumping back. And the hermit laughs, joining in the pantomime. They're quite a pair. And then the monk calls him a thief. What is a thief in Zen? Because what does that accomplished master do? What is being stolen? Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 So all your cherished possessions, in other words, your delusions, the things you hold on to, the things you define yourself by, all the ways in which you put yourself forth in the world in a spurious way, are taken from you. Thief, very positive in Zen stories. Wonderful. Yeah. But does the hermit's laughter really undercut the monk's phony fear? Does it really ring true? So you have to really kind of circle around these two as they are engaged in this piece of theater. So the hermit then challenges the monk. Okay, if I'm a thief, what are you going to do about it? What will you do with me? The monk, faced with this rather dull question, has no response whatsoever. Sorry, folks. That's it. The sharp weapon is revealed to be quite blunt. And therefore, Secho says, in brackets at the end of the case, these two thieves only knew how to cover their ears in their efforts to steal the bell. Some of you may know, some not, that Secho Juken, who lived from 980 to 1052, is the great master who compiled the Blue Cliff Record, of which this is case 85. and wrote verses to each case. And Engo, whose introduction was quite long today, Engo Kokugon, some 100 years later, wrote introductions and commentaries, and this is the Blue Cliff Record. So Secho's bracketed comment is quite a put down. Basically what he's saying is these two had a little insight, but were not very good thieves. They were more like common pilferers. And trying to snatch a bell in such a clumsy fashion that they betrayed their efforts and made a sound, clunk, something like that. And what did they do? Instead of catching the bell that they were trying to steal, they put their fingers in their ears. So Secho is basically telling us he's snatching everything away. He is the great thief in this wonderful exchange. I don't know if any of you have had that experience of dropping something that shatters loudly on the floor and you put your hands over your ears. I mean, you can't do anything about it. It's already broken. But there's this gesture, right? It's not very effective. Huh? Let's look at Secho's verse. An opportunity comes. If you can't seize it, you'll still be thinking about it 1,000 miles away. The ancient belief was that a tiger travels 1,000 miles in a day. So there's also a song that you may remember. I'm just one too many mornings and 1,000 miles behind. This feeling, we all have it. It's kind of a hopelessness. It's like, I don't get it, I'll never get it, and there's absolutely no way I can go on. In the Dylan song, it starts out, you're right from your side and I'm right from mine. And it's just one too many mornings and 1,000 miles behind. So Secho is commenting on this pair and goes on. The tiger had fine stripes, looked good, right? Play acting, fine stripes. Oh, look, here comes a tiger. No fangs, no claws. Maybe it was a painted cardboard figure of a tiger. So we have some recognition, I think, all of us, that these first 4 lines suggest things in our own lives. When we're not with it, we can't respond. We'll be thinking about it on and on, 1,000 miles, but we couldn't meet the circumstance. Maybe it's not, I shouldn't say that about all of you, right? Just my own sense of, there have been plenty of times when the opportunity to act was there, but for one reason or another, the verisimilitude wasn't there. It was like, okay, this is what it would look like if I could seize this moment. So a kind of paper tiger we're dealing with here. Well, then the last 4 lines, a real tiger comes. It goes like this, the rest of his verse. Don't you remember the battle on Mount Taiyu? Their words and actions shook the earth. If you have eyes to see, you know they caught the tiger's tail and grabbed the tiger's whiskers. Mount Taiyu was also known as Mount Hyakujo. Oh, Hyakujo comes back. That's where he got his name. Maybe I should read you the story that this refers to. One day, Obaku, you all know Obaku, he became Rinzai's teacher. One day, Obaku meets his master, Hyakujo, at the foot of Mount Taiyu, Mount Hyakujo. Hyakujo asks Obaku, Master, where have you come from? Obaku says, I have been gathering mushrooms at the foot of the mountain. Hyakujo asks, did you see a great tiger? Obaku immediately becomes the tiger he absolutely is. Without an instant's pause, Hyakujo swings his arm as if cutting with an axe. Obaku ducks under his arm, grabs Hyakujo, and strikes him. The disciple striking the master. So that's the battle that's being referred to in the last half of the verse. That evening, Hyakujo ascends the platform and announces to the assembly, there's a fierce tiger at the foot of Mount Taiyu. Today, this old monk was attacked by that tiger. Watch out. Very different feeling to it, right? That truly is Dharma combat, not a play. And yet they're playful. The words, the actions, these truly are outstanding. 2 tigers meeting each other of equal ability. Secho also says, if you have eyes to see, and he's pointing to yet another exchange. And this one is between Isan and Kyozan, the founders of the Ikkyo school. They often commented on Master Rinzai and other masters' Dharma activities. So Isan is asking Kyozan here, what do you think of the story of Obaku's tiger? Kyozan says, I would ask first for your opinion, Master. Isan says, at that time, Hyakujo should have killed the tiger with his axe. Why did he just make a gesture? Remember, Obaku is able to duck and grab Hyakujo, giving him a blow. Kyozan said, I don't think he should have done that. Isan said, what do you think? Kyozan said, he not only was able to ride on the tiger's head, the tiger's tail was also pulled. In other words, Hyakujo, in not killing, was freely riding the tiger. And Obaku, in striking, was grabbing the tiger's tail, each meeting each other fully. So this is a rather strange case, but it brings through Secho a very inspiring encounter. And each of us must come forth in our own lives, ready to ride, even if we don't know how. Ready to take a step further. Show up, not show off. Ready to offer our true selves with warm appreciation for each other, not criticism, judgment. I'll tell you what to do. I know best. To be genuine, to be humble, to be loving. That's the only way we can meet courageously, authentically, the circumstances of our lives.